Call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, first, I want to welcome everybody and just remind everybody that we are live streaming the board meeting tonight. So welcome also those who are joining us via the web. So the first thing on the agenda is that I want to ask if there's anyone here to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. I didn't have anyone sign in, I just want to make sure. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to consent agenda items. A motion by Earl. Do I have a second? Second by Travis. Any discussion? All of those in favor? 5-0, Debbie. Next, we'll move on to community non-agenda items. Stronger Together recognition?
Yep, we are ready. So tonight we're going to have some presentations by our fabulous coaches about what they're doing with MTSS intervention in our buildings, and also what's been going on with PBL and STEM in our district. So we asked them here to do those presentations, but strategically also we wanted to recognize them. So we thought we'd get them here, and they were a captive audience, and they would come and get their awards. These are like our unsung heroes that never like to be called out. So we wanted to make sure that we did that while they were here tonight. We really wanted to thank them for being the backbone to our district. They have just done a fabulous job in all of our buildings. There's no job they haven't done. They've been filling in. They also work with kids. And they really, the reason why we're able to advance what's going on with our kids with interventions and MTSS and make up that gap is because of this crew. They are just phenomenal. So wanted to call them up and thank them for their help with all of our kids and staff. So Morgan Likens. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then if you will go around.
Of course.
Yes. It's like a parade. It's like a parade.
Thank you.
Amber Hook. Sorry. So sorry. Tammy Bates. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Karen Field. Thank you so much. Melissa Patterson. You had your cute baby at the last one.
I know. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Luann Gant. Thank you for all you do.
Congratulations.
Cindy Law.
She's out of state.
She's out of state. But we'll still let her have it when she gets back.
Wrestling tournament.
Oh. And then last but not least, our district coach, who I've had the pleasure of seeing some of the things that she's put together. Truly phenomenal. I'm so appreciative she's here helping us, Jen Lehman. So our unsung heroes have now at least been acknowledged.
You never see me smile? Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
What's that?
Yeah. So now they can do their
Now they get to do
presentation.
it. So do you want to kick off the presentations?
So this presentation, they actually gave a version of for all of our new beginning teachers this year, which is about 50 in number, to help them understand our MTSS system district-wide. And they did such a phenomenal job with it that I asked if they'd recreate it and come here and share, because I thought it was a great job of summarizing what we're currently doing with MTSS to support kids in need throughout the district. So Amber and Melissa were willing to stand up and do a presentation, so I thank them so much for that. Thank you. Do you want to stand over there and let Jen go?
Do you want me to click? I can click.
All right, well, thank you for having us here this evening. Again, we are talking about MTSS, and MTSS is really something, when we met with Indiana University and working with UDL and PBL, we were looking at our district strategic goals. I think those are on the next slide. And looking at our current strategic goals of keeping kids in school, educating the whole child, and improving the academic achievement and growth, we realize that MTSS is kind of the thread that holds all of that together. And something that is at the core of what we as coaches do is that MTSS platform and that process. And we're using MTSS to not only close that gap that we saw with COVID, but also to progress our students and make sure that they are ensuring their growth and their success and their enjoyment and love of learning in school. So we have, MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, and we use this visual a lot with parents to help explain what this looks like in a visual representation. So at the bottom of this triangle, which is the bigger part, this is our Tier 1 instruction. So all students receive Tier 1 instruction, and the students who are just getting Tier 1 are the least likely to need academic intervention, but all of our students are getting this. The coaches really support Tier 1 instruction by going in and working with teachers on professional development and modeling lessons in their classrooms and really pushing in kind of observing and working with our teachers. In Tier 2, we work with students in small groups, either supporting teachers in their classroom with intervention ideas or sometimes pulling students who are lagging behind their peers. They're just a little bit behind. They need that extra push and that extra bump in that small group instruction. Then if you move on up, we have Tier 3 instruction, and that's usually done by one of the coaches or one of our Title I staff or an instructional paraprofessional. And that is an intense, individualized instruction. These students are behind their peers, usually one grade level or more, and we provide a systematic structure of intervention to ensure the student's growth.
All right, so at the elementary level, and actually this is something that this particular flow chart is what we use throughout the corporation. But we will get into a little bit specifically what's elementary, what's middle school, what's high school. So MTSS, I think I kind of talked about this a little bit whenever we did the CIPIO presentation. So the top would be Tier 1. So this is for any teacher or staff member who's looking at a student and trying to figure out how can I best help this student. And this is a really good way for them to ask themselves questions, look at data, and figure out where to go. So they either are using some of the strategies that are linked on those light bulbs, because that is a hyperdoc, so they can actually click out and get strategies, anything for Tier 1, because you can still do interventions in Tier 1. And then if you have a student who's still falling behind, we're going to move them to Tier 2. And I would like to point out that there's always a group of stakeholders making these decisions. It's not just the teacher, it's not just the coach or the admin. We've got parents involved, we've got our assistants involved. There's just a whole group of us that meet, I would say at least every 4 weeks about these kiddos. So always making those decisions as a team. So then once we make those decisions, if we have a student that needs to go to Tier 2, then we talk about, as a team, what are the interventions we have available, what does this student need, and let's get them in the schedule. So then down the line, a few weeks later, once we've collected some more data, and that's another point that we figure out as a team, what are we going to collect as data points? Then we come back, they're either staying in Tier 2, maybe they've caught up, they've already closed those gaps, we can put them back to Tier 1, or we move them to Tier 3. Same thing when they get to Tier 3. We can either bump them back to Tier 2 if they need that, or we can actually dismiss them, or we may go to
SPED testing. So, but that's the flow chart that kind of guides us on those decisions.
One thing that was really interesting when we first presented to our new teachers, I think we all did that individually at our buildings. We talked about this at the beginning of the year to our new teachers, and they kind of understood it. They got the picture, but then when we presented it at the end of the year, the feedback was incredible. They were like, I get it now. I see the big picture. When you're a new teacher coming in, you might get those processes and know what you're doing, but until they've lived it, until they've put kids through those processes, see how it works, it was really interesting on that feedback, and it was nice to know that it is working, and they see that the teachers understand that this process does work.
So this is a form that the coaches will receive if a teacher is needing help with a particular student. This is sort of our call to action. So we'll schedule a data meeting, we'll contact parents. Sometimes the parents prefer us to just inform them over the phone. Sometimes they'll want to come in and be a part of that. But always everyone's invited, and this is the request for assistance. So this is when the teacher kind of fills in, these are the things I've been doing already. This is what this student's struggling with. This is the contacts that I've made with parents already. And so we kind of have that to start off with. Once we receive that, then we move on to more processes. So this is a Tier 2 form. So this is where, as a team, we talk about what is Billy's goal and what are we going to track for that. So the data point on this particular example are his spelling tests. So we track those, we always set those goals, we list the interventions, and then we come back together and we talk about the changes. We always make notes on them. But that's a great way for if we ever do have to move toward some type of testing, we've got tons of data and we've got tons of narratives that we can go back and look at to see what all we've done with this kiddo.
And one thing to add with this is an area where students can take ownership. A lot of our teachers will talk about their data, and especially in Tier 2, for those kids that need just that little bit of a boost with their students. So the students can kind of monitor their own goals, and they have feedback that's pretty instantaneous about how they're doing.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so then if we move on to Tier 3, we have this form that we fill out, and it's sort of a continuing document. We are constantly updating it on the bottom. You can't really see that on here, but we update all the data. We track their attendance, we track their grades, we track their assessment scores, their reading levels, and always are making notes every time we meet. This is what we've talked about. We're going to change this intervention. And again, I just want to emphasize parents are always one of the most important part of that group of stakeholders. So we always are encouraging them to be involved in that decision making.
So one of the important things that when we're looking at MTSS, not only at the elementary level, we want to make sure that that flow is streamlined to the middle school and to the high school, because we want to ensure that our students are not only set up for success at the elementary level, but when we graduate them from 6th grade, that rug isn't kind of just left underneath of them. So we wanted to look at what does it look like at the middle school. And I know Karen presented last time, but just to reiterate, in Tier 1, they do their subject area core instruction, again, with all students. Their teachers support students who are struggling with individual assignments, and then Karen showed you some really good data with their data tracker last time. Then in Tier 2 and Tier 3, they have math, language arts, as well as other subject areas. They have that referral form, just like elementary. A student can attend the remediation room. Teachers fill out their skills assignments, and they're constantly tracked for what skills need to be addressed, whether it's in a small group or one-on-one. So very similar, very consistent process with what we're doing at the elementary level. They also track, their students that show the lack of process and progress, and they offer extra things that they can do with them. They also have the impact room, which is another level of that Tier 2 and Tier 3 support. So then from the middle school up to the high school, they also have
MTSS that they can support there. Again, Tier 1, everyone is getting that core instruction, and I personally know with having 2 students at the high school currently, how much of time that they offer for kids to come in who need support before school, after school, during their lunch. So I appreciate that as a parent. One of the things that is really pressed on their teachers, if a student is struggling after you have offered support, to get into contact with their counselor. Their counselor is kind of their go-to person to figure out where they need to go in the next steps of that process. So this is listed some of their Tier 2 and Tier 3 opportunities. They have incorporated the SRT time, different labs, the counselors do check in, pride time. I know my personal students have used that quite a bit. They talk about, I'll get that caught up during pride time. The students are encouraged again to check their grades and meet with their teachers. They have different labs that they do, some alternative ed, and they also have the credit recovery and impact program as well at the high school. Any questions? Okay, good job. All right.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it.
So next up, we have a brief walkthrough of a new STEM PBL website. And this is going on our district website. In fact, it's already there. Jen's going to share that out. I'd like to kind of give a little bit of background. This year, our staff have been so committed and working so hard to move forward engaging classroom strategies. And they're doing that through STEM and PBL and hands-on activities. Remember, we had a grant from the state for $75,000 for STEM acceleration, and that has helped fund a lot of that, as well as some of our ESSER funding. The goals that this year we've been working on, and to give you a brief update, was to get foundational STEM and PBL training for all of our certified staff by the end of the year. And I'm excited to say that we're going to have that completed by the end of this school year. And then we have a process in place to catch up new teachers who come to us in the fall. That was through staff dedication and Jen's hard work and a partnership with 5 Star. We had a goal to have STEM labs in all 8 schools by the end of the school year. The middle school has built out a fantastic space. I hope to have them come and present and share some of the things that they're doing. All 6 elementaries have their STEM area, and they have equitable products and all of those, like 3D lab printers. And the high school is in the process of researching and designing their space to match their new grad pathways. So hoping to get that in place for next year for them. And then all of the schools have been working to evaluate their STEM certification readiness and how they feel about STEM certification, which is a big deal in the state of Indiana. So they've been working on that all year long, and currently they will take a survey in May, and we have how everyone felt and what they knew about STEM and PBL in September, and then we'll have May data, so we'll be able to compare where we've moved along and what we still want to work on. And then finally, adding engineering design challenging to the elementary, and all of our elementary classrooms, K-6 this year, did a state vetted curriculum called EIE, Engineering is Elementary, within the classroom, and covered all the engineering standards this year. So a lot of big, lofty goals and a lot of progress made that's due completely to the hard work of our staff in our classrooms, being willing to try some new and innovative approaches to engage our kids. So on our STEM district committee, where we have representatives from the schools, parents, community members, one of the things they mentioned that was eye-opening to Jen and I when we heard it was, that's fantastic, that's fantastic. I wish we knew more about that. I wish that was shared out more. I wish everyone was aware. And so the response to that was an idea to create a STEM PBL focused website for the district. So that's what this is, but we have a direct link to it on our main jcsc.org webpage. And to start out, we did an all call to teachers, and we were just trying to hope we get like 2 people, weren't we, that would send us pictures of kids, said, would you please send us pictures of PBL and STEM projects in the classroom? And we had over 50 teachers respond with pictures of lessons and things going on. So
There was a prize.
Yes, we did. Prizes never hurt anyone. So those are embedded throughout, and at that point, I'm going to kind of hush and let Jen share all of the stuff that is going on for STEM and PBL in Jennings County. Some pretty exciting things.
So the original thought of the website was just for staff only. We originally thought, let's get everything together so that we have staff, we have information here. And as we created it and it just kept evolving, we realized this has information that our parents could use too. This really kind of gives the picture of everything that we're doing. And it's still a work in progress. So we're still adding to it. But we have our homepage here, but we divided it up into elementary and secondary. So on the elementary page, this has, it does take a little bit to load when it's being presented, so it can be a little slower. We have carousels that go all the way down of like 20 pictures in each photo carousel of our adorable elementary kids doing all kinds of different STEM projects. So the first page is just a celebration of all of the cool things that were happening in our classrooms. So then we have the curriculum that our teachers have been doing this year or have the opportunity to do next year. One of the new things that we've been introducing this year that's optional is Picture Perfect STEM. And so putting all of this in one place. So I presented in all of the buildings but one, and that one had to be rescheduled. And so the teachers have had this information presented to them by me, but we also wanted to put it here so that if we had a new teacher, if we had someone that was absent when I presented, everything that they would need for Picture Perfect STEM this year. We have, this program was written by 2 elementary teachers from the Cincinnati area. 3 of us actually did training with them for 4 weeks in February and March. And so there's a video explaining what it is. There's actually a 30-minute webinar. And then there's standards alignment here and a link out to a Padlet. And then this is the lessons. I chose a lesson with help from input from teachers at every building at the grade levels. And we purchased the supplies and the books for them all to teach a lesson and made it completely optional, but the teachers have absolutely loved it. They have jumped on this. They've been sending me videos, pictures. They have, we just had a 3rd grade teacher this week take the 3rd grade one and just ran with it and has an amazing, how would you call it, like a slideshow to go with it. It's just fabulous. But I linked in for them their supplies, what they have. And again, we've told them it's completely optional, but this is another tool in your toolbox. So, and they love it. And they can especially tell it was written by teachers for them. One of the things that came to light in one of the many meetings that we have with the leadership teams in each building on the STEM team is that our STEM, what was happening in our STEM lab maybe wasn't so transparent to the teachers. And it wasn't on purpose. We just maybe weren't sharing as well as we thought we were what they were doing there. So the idea came that we would just actually post the curriculum for them. And it's actually been shared with the principals already and the curriculum committee and the STEM lab contacts. But we're posting the curriculum here, and so this just links right out to what they're going to be doing already for next year, for the whole year. And even the lesson plans that I created for the lab leaders are actually linked in there. So you could look at that, click on the link, and see exactly what lesson the lab leaders are going to be teaching. And then one of the curriculums that we use in the STEM lab is Curiosity Machine from Technovations. So there's information on that as well that can be clicked out. Then, as Nikki mentioned, we had this big, lofty goal this year, and our teachers did it, and they did it well. And it maybe was not painless, but a lot was definitely learned from it, and I think our teachers grew. We all did. We learned from it. So engineering standards are probably the most difficult to teach when we're talking about STEM. You know, the S, the T, the M, those things can be easily incorporated into your lessons, but it's a little bit harder to figure out how am I going to teach the engineering part. This curriculum covered those engineering and process standards for every grade level, every standard. So that's why it was so good. But the tutorial videos that we went through, why we chose EIE, the design process posters that I made them, and even a link out to the educator resources, all of that is in one place. Coding, we use code.org at the elementary level. So we have the standards, the Indiana Standard Alignment that takes the computer science standards and crosswalks them to code.org. We have this is a tutorial that I made for teachers on how to access lesson plans on code.org. We have the course descriptions, and then this is for next year. I've already put in, and I have downloaded and then uploaded all of their course lessons, their handouts, and then we walked through how long it would take them to how many lessons and how many hours it would take them to teach those standards in their classroom. And so that's all linked here for the teachers to access. And then the final thing that elementary has is our science curriculum, Science Fusion. Many teachers maybe were not aware that it had STEM lessons built into it. And so this is an example of a 4th grade STEM lesson that's built in. And then we also had tutorials put in here that we had done when we first had this, when we adopted this. And so it has information on how to access the online teachers edition, how to access the read aloud. All of that information is there for teachers in one place. Then the secondary tab, we have the same thing as the elementary. We have, the first page has photo carousels, and we have, this is a video that they have for their mousetrap race cars. We have Project Lead the Way has their own page for the middle school and the high school. There's information that links out to that page, and then also each one of these links out to the courses that are offered at the schools. So we have 2 courses offered at the middle school, and then the courses that are offered at the high school is here, and then the website for Project Lead the Way is embedded. Black Cat Racing has its own page, and I reached out to these teachers and asked them if they could give me a blurb, send me information, and so it's still a work in progress. We still have information, stuff coming in. And then they have a robotics class at the high school, and she was very adamant. She sent me a video, and she was very adamant that I label her pictures so everyone would know what they are. And so we have that. The graduation pathways, this is a presentation that I can't remember who did, Stephanie did. And so we just linked in her slideshow, but we've asked them if one of them would mind doing a video of it, a screencast, and walking through it with her voice. And I just talked to them about that this week, and they agreed to do that. So we'll update that when they have. And then Tevin, for the culinary arts, he gave me a blurb, but he really wanted his new pictures on there. So they're coming to put the new pictures in a project that they're doing. Then we have 2 more main pages that link out. We have our employability skills, which we have these posters that are printable. We actually have the actual posters, which are really nice and really big, and we're going to give them, we have 450. We have enough to give every staff member these posters next year. And then we put in their grade level standards, their standard bands for the employability skills. And then finally, we have a page for our community partnerships, which that is continually being updated. As this website is being shared with teachers, I just received an email last night from a teacher that said, we have this community partner at our school, can you add them? And I'm like, sure, can you send me the logo? So I think we will, as we get more, we'll update them. But as more of our teachers become aware, they'll give us more information. So yeah, so it's going live to our teachers through teachers meetings and stuff starting this week, and kind of excited. Yeah, that's it.
These are the things we've been collecting all year long, and you can see that Jim's phenomenal at putting together a website and collecting that all into one place. If any community member would like to see that, or parents, if they go to our main website, you click on the left-hand main page, the word STEM, and the link to this website is right there and available. So many thanks to all the teachers whose work went into this, to Jen for presenting it, making the website, and we're really excited about what's happening with STEM and PBL in Jennings County Schools.
See, heroes.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
So I know that that's a lot of work, and so I would just challenge anybody who's in the room or anybody who's listening online or watching online that you go to our website, our Jennings County School Corporation website, and share the link for this. We need to be bragging and sharing all the great things that our schools are doing and what's happening in our community. We don't do that nearly enough. So I challenge you to do that. I challenge all of the school board members to do that as well. Old business, under programs, Nikki?
Bringing for approval student handbooks for elementary, middle school, and high school for the 22-23 school year. Asking for approval.
Motion by Travis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Pat. Is there any discussion? No? All those in favor? 5-0. Next, under professional staff.
Yes, bringing Josh Land to add an extended year on the current supplemental contract to extend through 2022-23, and Christy Sigler also extend a coach year for 22-23, asking for approval.
Motion.
Motion by Earl, do we have a second? Second by Susan, any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. New business, under Neola.
Right, so I have several policies I'm bringing to you as a first reading. So if there's any questions, comments that you might need prior to the second reading, just let me know.
Okay, so this is first reading, so no vote tonight, make sure you review those. And then down under programs.
Yeah, so Curtis and Livers is our special education database that we use to do our TOR lists and to also check some of the state reports that we're putting in through data exchange. There were a few errors, so it's really important that we have our backup database as well. So asking permission to continue using the CODA program for special education.
So moved.
Motion by Pat, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Travis, any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Under professional staff recommendations.
Yes, I'd like to recommend Kristen Yon for the Graham Creek Elementary sped teaching position for next school year. Recommending Tim Poor be named as the Director of Transportation for this year, and there is a typo there. It should be $65,000 as his salary. And then recommending Catherine Rappa for the Sand Creek Elementary teacher position, asking for approval on those positions.
Do we have a motion with that one correction? Motion by Susan, do we have a second? Second by Earl, any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Then down under support staff recommendations.
Yes, recommending Kara Allen move from a floater cook position to a full-time cook position at the high school. Jerry Blyton will be medical support for our golf and track participants as needed. Faith Heath is going to be a tech intern for the summer. Abigail Kincaid will be a CNA in the classroom at Jennings County High School. Carmen Kopiski is going to be a tech intern for the summer. Ian Sawyer will be a tech intern for the summer. Brady Shepard will be a tech intern for the summer. James Bailey Smith is a new tech for Jennings County Schools. And Gabe Wilson would like to be a volunteer wrestling coach, asking for approval.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Susan, is there a second? Second, Pat. Any discussion?
Did she read the name Kane, the cook? I didn't.
That was struck through.
That was struck.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then the only other discussion I have is, it looks like maybe there was an autocorrect. Should be CNA
It
instead of
should, yes.
CAN. Yeah, so just make sure that that's corrected in the,
Thank
for the
you.
minutes, yeah. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Under finances, donations.
And we have one donation for tonight. I'd ask for approval for the board to accept. The Jennings County Community Foundation gave $100 to NVE for an essay winner. So asking the board to accept that donation.
So moved.
Motion by Pat, do I have a second? Second by Susan, any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Under resolution, Philip.
Yes, I'm asking the board to approve a resolution to consider exploring the potential of purchasing real estate adjacent to our current school property on Highway 50.
Okay.
Make the motion.
Motion by Travis, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Pat, any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Under relations, it looks like we have an MOU.
An MOU for AP TIP Indiana with the high school. This is to increase staff training for AP courses and to encourage and increase student participation in AP courses. So it's a lot of support over several years to help with that.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Susan, Second, do we have a second? Pat? Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. And then we're down under other.
Yeah, we actually do have, one thing I'd like to just, as a point of information to share with the board, we had some good news. We found out we received another grant for $50,000, and Todd and Mandy were the authors and the worker bees behind the scene. If you guys want to share your grant news.
So it's the 2022 Digital Learning Grant. So the focus is improving blended and online learning through the Universal Design for Learning. And with our ICTQ grant, where we're bringing UDL into Jennings County, this kind of partnered with that. So with the grant, it's providing 6.5 months of training through 5-star professional development, where they will come into our buildings and help train staff in the classroom. We also have UDL training that we're sending our 17 FITs, our facilitators in training for our UDL. We'll be getting them certified in levels 1 and 2, and then we'll also have a stipend for them to complete that training. And then we will also be able to provide them with a gold book toolkit, which is a resource that they can go in, and if they have any skill in the classroom that they're looking at teaching or finding a different way to teach, it will give them 15, 20 different ways that they can teach that skill. So we're getting them resources so that they can start using the principles in the classroom.
Very nice. Congratulations and thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Anything else, Teresa? That's it? All right, well then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Earl, have a second? Second, Travis. All those in favor?